Before the giving of the Torah, the effluence of God's divine conduct came into the world through the intermediary of stars and constellations. Yet after Israel received the Torah, they were lifted above the influence of the stars and began to receive directly from God. This is as we find written in the Zohar. Before the giving of the Torah to Israel, the entire creation was dependent upon a specific constellation that ruled over that part of creation. This was true even concerning children, life, and sustenance. In other words, there was a certain star that God sent His power and His abundance through that would bring it about that a woman would have a child. There's a particular star, a different star would say if it was a man-child or a girl-child. And another one would, if a man has a success in making a living or doesn't, and what the money a person makes and the success a person has in all of his endeavors in life, not just in business, it was all dependent, or the lack thereof, it was all dependent upon a star. God is using the stars to conduct creation. And the Zohar continues by saying, after the Torah was given to Israel, the people of Israel are no longer under the influence of the stars. That refers to children of Israel who follow the Torah, who study the Torah and teach the Torah and keep the Torah and follow what is written in the Torah. That's there because they're only under the influence of God, the highest of all high, the deepest of all deep. For this reason, whoever is involved in the study of Torah, and by extension, it goes without saying, the keeping, observing the Torah, such a person is free from the influence of the stars. Before the Torah was given, all of the divine shefa, that means the flow from the infinite, came into the world through an organized system called cause and effect. God causes a star to exist, and that star causes a certain effect in the world. God creates an angel, and that angel has an effect in the world. They say even God conducts all of His creation. The Talmud teaches us that even a blade of grass doesn't grow until an angel strikes it and says, grow. So, in other words, angels and stars and sfirot and so forth are all intermediaries from the one and only God, the infinite, the omnipresent. But each level would receive from a level above, and it would diffuse an effect on the level below. The final recipient of this concatenation from cause and effect, all the way from the infinite down through the worlds and the sfirot and the angels, and then to this world and the stars and the angels of this world. Every world has angels in it. It's all coming down, 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 cause and effect, to the physical world and the reality that we live in. The final recipient is man, or any element of the creation. In particular, man. Thus, man received God's divine flux. Man receives God's flux by the way of the stars and constellations, and angels and sfirot, etc. Whether man receives good or the opposite was all subject to nature and the governance of the stars. This was the way in which the entire creation received its flux. However, when Israel received the Torah, they were raised above the power of the stars and constellations. Now that we're in the possession of the Torah, Baruch Hashem, it's only through the Torah. The Shefa, the divine flow and flux from the higher worlds and originating in the infinite, who fills the whole world with His glory. It all goes through the Torah, because the world was created with the Torah. God looked into the Torah, the letters of the Torah, and created the world. The letters of the Torah are the building blocks of creation. So if somebody is connected to the Torah, he doesn't need to go through any intermediaries. This is all hinted at in the Zohar, which says, we learn this from Abraham, since his children would receive the letter He of God's name. He is also the number 5. In Avram's name, we learn this from Avram, since his children would later receive the He in Avraham's name. In other words, the essence of a person is his name. Everybody's name is everything about that person. Everything that happens to that person, everything that will happen to that person, everything about that person and the nature of the person, it's all in the person's name. Now, it may be the name that everybody calls him, or in the name that he's given by his parents, or so Avraham is a name. God gave Avram the name Avraham. He put a He in God's name, in Abraham's name. God put a He, He took a He of His own name and duplicated it, or extended it, however you want to look at it, and put it in Avraham's name. So it changed from Avram to Avraham. So all of the generations to come out of Abraham received from that He. The He is 5, like we said before, and it represents the 5 books of Moses. Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Dvarim. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Those 5 are the He in Abraham's name that was received from the He in God's name. That's why it says in the Genesis chapter 2 verse 4, these are the generations of the heavens and the earth as they were created. In Hebrew, Behibaram. That He, the word Behibaram is the same letters as the name Ba'avraham. Abraham. It's the same letters as the phrase, and He created them with the letter He. So you could switch around the same word, Behibaram, and not even changing the order of the letters, as you would have to make the name Avraham. You say, take Behibaram, which means as they were created, and you change the vowels, and it becomes Behe Baram. Behi Baram, as they were created, and Behe Baram, they were created with a He. As they were created, change the vowels, and you get they were created with a He, or 5. God said to Abraham, since this He was added to your name, so will the heavens be placed before you. All of the stars and constellations are illuminated by the letter He. As it is the Midrash, the Zohar is a Midrash, as we said before. The hermeneutic legends of the Torah, explaining the hidden things, explaining wisdom teachings, called Midrash. So the Zohar is a book of Midrash. The Midrash Rabbah is another book of Midrash. And in the Midrash Rabbah it says, and he brought him outside, he brought Abraham outside and said, look heavenward. This means that God raised Abraham above the dome of the firmament so that all the goodness he received would come directly from Hashem, the one and only God.